terms of beginning the process, first of all, I have to thank you guys for allowing us on here. One of the things that we love doing is being part of a learning process for El Paso. As part of a community-based group, we enjoy talking about subject matters that affect our population. Daniel and myself have been individuals that have worked on and have worked together probably well over, I'd say, about a good 15 years or so, probably longer than that. We focused on taking care of individuals from the beginning of maybe their issues physiologically, but we also deal with them on the emotional side of it. As an outsourcing of things, functional medicine is the combination and understanding of how to deal with chronic disorders. At its basis, inflammation becomes one of the most important subject matters at the root of all causes. So by the time you start practicing medicine, whether you're a cardiologist, whether you're a orthopedist, you deal with inflammation at your own area, such as in your joints, such as in the area of the lumen of arteries. Danny and us, we deal with patients on the physiological side of things, on the biomechanical side of things, but we by no means don't interact with inflammation at its basis. So we've learned a lot about inflammation, and what we understand today, it's probably one of the most central themes affecting immunology, cardiology, neurology, every sort of ology you can find gets its basis through inflammation, to the point where there's actually a new outbranching of doctors called inflammologists, where basically we can determine how things interact with themselves. Now, when we look at certain areas, Danny and I, we work on each individual patient individually, and we focus on a functional medicine approach. A functional medicine approach is to look at things more from long-standing disorders and issues. So one of the important components is to understand the particular problems an individual has and work up a case individually. So as we do that, we realize that inflammation, whether it be at the arterial area or even in the brain or even at the gut, we have to understand that it does have its beginnings. So there's much to talk about. So I'm open for questions, and I can kind of take it in any direction you wish.
I think that's a great foundation of understanding what inflammation is. I mean, especially, just as a beginner, like understanding the components, it can be pretty much in everything. I hear it revolving a lot around like gut health, but how specifically does it affect the heart?
Well, one of the things is that in, let's say, prior to, I'd say, the 2000s, we would always look at the lumen or the arteries or the arterioles at the smallest level. We really understood that at its basic, it would be clogged and there would be cholesterol plaques. And we learned that our goal was to prevent cholesterol. Cholesterol got a bad rap in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, beginning from the story of the egg on Time magazine, that cholesterol was a bad thing. Today, we've learned that cholesterol is a good thing. However, we have to how to mediate and manage the lipid profiles of individuals. So today, what we look at, and we understand that many interactions affect the artery at the molecular level and at the lining level. So we try to figure out what is it that affects the artery before the clotting or the issues of myocardial infarction occur. What we learned is that we can go back into and to find problems back into the diet. So what we've learned also is that it's not so much of a fat issue, it's an inflammation issue. Typically, what we've learned is that a lot of times you would say back in the day, fats are bad. However, today we've learned that fats are good fats. So we understand that carbohydrates are at the root of much inflammation. So what we have to do is we have to understand that there are things that cause arterial issues, such as inflammatory states, oxidative states, lipid profile states. The level of the blood markers that we evaluate, such as triglycerides, lipids, HDLs, LDLs, high blood pressure, those all factor into. But one of the things that we have to do is we have to consider, as you had mentioned earlier, mind things like emotional things, relaxing things, transcendental meditation. That's one of the things that we want to bring into the fact that we can help people and decrease stress and decrease the effects on arterioles by many things that we can do from our diet. Now, you mentioned something about gut. Gut has a lot to do with what we eat and also our microflora. So today we understand that if we deal with the issue of understanding the biome or the microbiome in our bodies, well, we can also understand the issues that are affecting inflammatory states and create an inflammatory oxidative load on the body. So we understand from complex ways that the gut directly implicates the coronary arteries. The diet affects the coronary arteries. The stress level affects the coronary arteries. So we look at a bunch of different components and we come up with the realization that we've learned a lot. Today, we can actually see inflammatory states even at the genomic level. So one of the new advents of medicine is that we can really see into human genomes and understand if a person has certain gene predispositions and adapt to their diet and make their diet recommendations based on the